Hey everybody, welcome to the Real Housewives of New Jersey recap with myself, Russell Ray, and my co-host, Ronnie Jr. Welcome, Ronnie Jr. What did you think about episode 3?
This After the premiere, I
Sorry, 2. Oh my
I
gosh, hit myself.
it's okay. We're watching Miami. We're watching this show. One of our friends was saying that there was a Hulu series where there was uh women over 40 dating like 20-year-olds. It's a lot of reality TV.
Oh, Drew Jones, our friend Drew Jones actually casted that show. Fun fact.
Okay.
She was part of the casting team and production team of that show. So if anybody knows, go ahead and head over and check out Drew Jones on Instagram. She is the casting expert. She will hook you up and get you to all the right places where you need to be.
An all around baddie. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Speaking of baddies, no, it was an episode that it did a little different of an effect of the first episode. I was like kind of not as excited going into it because I was like, oh, too much Melissa and Teresa, as I said last episode. So I had a lower bar and it was so good. This one was just maintaining and it was mellow, but it was fun. I was good with the personal stories. And it kind of led to episode 3. So I'm into it. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about, oh my gosh, I still can't get over Jersey. Like, it is just I have to have my little dangly bracelets on. Like, I just feel so good about it.
Yeah. People feel that way. There is something so different about this particular casting. I don't know what it is. It could be the actual navigation of New Jersey. It could be that you say New Jersey, but like all the women could live in so many different parts of New Jersey. And that's even a difference in itself. When you have every woman, while they're different, living in the Upper East Side for Real Housewives of New York, it's like they're different, but they're the same. Beverly Hills, same thing, different, but the same. And Jersey's like, I just don't know what I'm going to get from each of these women. So maybe that's what it is. And they have fashion too.
Jersey is like on top of it when it comes to Real Housewives franchise and just the way that everything comes out and the way that they handle things. It's just a different culture, which I really appreciate about all of these women and even the men. We had talked about this last episode that the men are you just don't get that content from any of the other housewives' husbands. And you get that from Real Housewives of New Jersey. And I would love nothing more than for Andy Cohen to do a spinoff show with the house husbands of New Jersey.
Yeah, something. You might not be the only person who's saying that, so it may happen at one point.
But they're big person until he has us in the clubhouse as bartenders, and then he listens to my pitch.
Okay, so we're gonna be bartenders on Watch What Happens Live.
Yes,
and then we're gonna walk over and sign a contract. Okay, yes. All right. I cheers to that. I can see that.
We're gonna sign a contract with Peacock.
Yeah, because the skill set is here. So let's talk about it. The only thing that we do good, but then we have to work on, and mind you, this is gonna be funny that I say this. We're going to have to how do you say it in a past tense? Imaginatively. Using our imagination, we're going to have to find a way to support and be proud and excited about Teresa because she just drops the ball so much. And I know there's people who are tree huggers, so that's the thing I'm going to try my best to find the good in Teresa today.
You know what? It probably doesn't help that we have a segment today that's called Teresa versus everyone.
Which should really read Teresa versus herself. Let's get into the therapy. But she did mention
that's a good take on that.
She mentioned it though, and I will not negate that. Different landscapes in terms of like who you are, where you grow up culturally. Therapy is not always what it is today for lots and lots of people, especially in our age group. Teresa is 50 years old, right? So I at least appreciated her saying we didn't do that. Like we just would not deal with therapy because it was sort of an attack on who we are. There's some exploration in that, and I don't get a lot of like Teresa redeeming qualities, but I did like that with her.
You know what I do agree with you on Teresa somewhat bettering herself is I believe at one point in this episode, she turns and she says, What about just a fresh start when is it Margaret and Jennifer are having their confrontation, and Teresa offers just a fresh start. Like, let's start from scratch, call it a day. So I do see that, um, her husband, her new husband now is really bringing a different side of her, but she's still, old habits are hard to kill.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, we have somebody in the chat with us.
Oh, good. Are they a tree? Oh, Courtney, our dear Courtney. Courtney is very talented in the podcast space, but that's not all she does. She's a writer, and has been doing very well for so many years. Thank you, Courtney, for joining.
Yeah,
Tree
Courtney,
is,
thank you.
oh, go ahead. You could read it. Read what she wrote.
Tree is in therapy, and that's a good thing. LOL.
Yeah. Courtney, do you agree with what we're saying, though, that a lot of times, based on who you are, where you grew up, culturally, a lot of people didn't turn to therapy like they do now? Like, I always find it as such a blessing. Like, my mother is she'll tell everybody go to therapy. And I feel like even within her own sisters, who they get along so well, some of them are like, no, I just got to deal with what I got to deal with. And therapy's like the bad guy. So it's just so odd because my mother is not like that. So because my mother was very like, go to therapy, go to therapy, go to therapy, I feel it's a very open place to discuss all the feelings, good and bad. But even within my own family, it's not for everybody. So it's quite fascinating is kind of what I was thinking.
What's funny is I can actually be both people when it comes to therapy. I can be the one that is all for it, but I can also be the one that thinks to myself, I can handle this. It's not as big as a deal as it may seem. I definitely have an exit plan or exit strategy. And then I go through the motions and I eventually get through it. But just going to therapy right off the bat probably would be the best choice. But like I said, I can be both people. So I can relate to Teresa and the fact that she still has her old habits, but she's trying to bring out these new traits that would really bring out an enlightening side of her, and a side that the audience would agree with and would actually get along with, like we did in seasons 1, 2, and 3. We really did like Teresa, and we liked where she was going. She was signing her kids up for acting classes, and they were, submitting for modeling and just a lot of different projects. And we like that Teresa. We like the Teresa that puts in the hard work.
Yeah. And like I said, this was relatable. Even Courtney is telling us right now, oh, for sure, my parents would still tell me to go to church and just deal over like going to therapy. So what Teresa is going through and what she displayed, at least in that comment on this episode, was relatable, because we cannot lie to ourselves. We all kind of feel that in a way. I've went to therapy many times, but I've also had moments where I'm like, I don't want to use it as a crutch either. I don't want to just go every week thinking, oh, let me just unpack all my stuff. I'm a human. I got to grow up. I got to get through things too. So it's a very challenging. I don't knock anyone who doesn't go, and I don't knock anyone who goes all the time. I think it's valuable. And we'll just say that Teresa does need to go. She needs to go because she's been on a reality show for all these years. She hasn't ever been able to detach from who she was before, going from a regular woman in New Jersey to being on a reality show to going through all these tumultuous things, including losing her parents. She needs a break away from it. You know what I mean? You go where you're loved, and the love in her life is a lot of drama. That's what pays the bills. Anyways, I don't want to go on and on. I know we got to move on to the next topic, but
I mean, I don't know if I would call her a regular woman in Jersey, because Juicy Joe was embezzling that money and had given them a very, very nice lifestyle and avoiding taxes.
Did you see?
I don't mean to make that laughable, but in my mind, I'm like, that was not a normal life. Because remember when Jacqueline, probably season 1 and 2, Jacqueline went furniture shopping with Teresa, and Teresa was paying in $100 bills, and it was several tens of thousands of dollars that furniture came out to, and she paid it in cash. That is wild to me.
I mean, it should be a lesson for the other people who go on these shows. If there's any funny business, it's going to show up. So definitely don't flaunt it. But see, that's the weird thing. These people get casted on this show by, not even, no, I'm saying they get casted because, you're giving this elaborate lifestyle. That's why, people want to make fun of my beloved Giselle Bryant. Oh, she can't dress. Oh, her house, this and that. It's like she is a person who's winning on personality. And I know Giselle Bryant comments is just such a hard thing to grasp while we're talking about Teresa. But what I'm saying is, let's say for me, if I go onto a television show or you listen to me on a radio show that I work on or whatever it is, I want you to love me because I'm amazing and I'm gorgeous. No, I
Yes,
want you.
You better preach.
You know what I mean? I
I
had
know
to do
that's
that.
right.
But I'm saying I want you to love me for me, in terms of like how I get received on a television show, on a radio show, on any projects I work on. I find it, this is why I don't love Beverly Hills, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but I don't love Beverly Hills because Beverly Hills is basically the season that says, look at this wealth. You're going to like me because of this wealth. I'm like, wealth don't impress me. Like, you know what I mean? And so to me, Teresa was always interesting in that way. I'm going off your note there about like her paying in money. Her introduction into being liked, into being, having a fabulous life with fabulous friends and everything was that she had money. Like money's not a personality, dear. But for Teresa, it is. For Teresa, it is. Was.
Like she said, she's fabulous. Like she always has said. Hi, Teresa. Teresa. She's just someone where like you can't stop watching her. And you can't 100% dislike her, but you can disagree with the things that she's doing. And I think right now that's where I'm at with her, is I'm really disagreeing with the things that she's doing. Like, for instance, Teresa and Jennifer versus Margaret. Teresa and Jennifer did not need to meet up with Margaret's ex-childhood friend in order to bring up dirt. And as we've seen in the clip, Danielle was caught by surprise when Teresa and Jennifer revealed this on FaceTime in front of her, which I think was done as bait. But I mean, again, here we go digging into people's business that ain't none of our own business. But
when you say here we go again doing that, what are you referencing as far as who's done that before? I mean, I know several people have, but what is your take?
Teresa is always looking for a defensive move, in the sense of she always wants to find ammunition that if anybody comes at her wrong, she's going to come back at them with information about themselves that they might not want to hear.
Yeah.
And I don't think, if you're trying to bring the namaste, I don't think it's a wise choice to continuously find out information about people and hope that it reveals itself, or figure out a way to reveal it to them so that you can make their reputation, so you can tarnish their reputation. I don't believe in tarnishing people's reputation just to better yourself, because that doesn't make namaste.
I also thought it was very interesting in terms of character, because what is that whole situation? Like if I'm your friend and I'm around, I'm getting exposed, I'm Danielle, and I'm getting exposed to how Jennifer moves, how Teresa moves. And it's like, you two both went behind Margaret's back to be funny. You know what I mean? Like you didn't do this like, oh, we really cared. Because there's in housewife world, there's always I just wanted to get the information because I really cared. And it's like, you didn't care. Yeah. You wanted to be funny. We got to admit the truth. Yeah. And so it's just, it would make you feel a little weird if you're Danielle, because you're like, well, these are my girls now. But like, I don't really like the way they do things, because if they would do it to Margaret when things are not great, they would do it to me too.
Exactly.
That's that thing, What do they say? You get close with a friend and like that friend is just always, saying something about everybody. You're like, well, what are they saying when I'm not around? It's
as
that
the old saying goes, if somebody talks about you, if someone talks to you about their friend, they're going to talk to their friend about you.
Yeah.
And that's very much what the situation is with Teresa and Jennifer, and reeling in Danielle into the situation. I think that's unfair. Don't bring out information, again, that you're not going to call out entirely to the person's face. If you're going to do that, that's a different story. Because at that point, you're not gossiping. You're calling it out as it is. You're not going behind anybody's back. And you don't care at that point who and what hears, because you've addressed it with the person that it concerns. But the fact that Danielle was off in the corner, not even off in the corner, but just happens to be in the room, and it was an uncomfortable situation for her, especially being the new girl into the group. But again, we love her. She can hold her own. So I'm not concerned in the least, because in her confessional, she said, hell yeah, I want to know. Wouldn't you want to know? Which it's fair, because we all want to know now, what is Margaret hiding, or what is this person revealing about Margaret that we already don't know, because Margaret is already an open book.
Right.
So that's not much to go off of.
That's a sad thing. I don't love that. I don't love the you're going to go cuddle up with my old friends just to get all this. How do you even know that stuff's true? As far as Teresa and Jennifer, how do you know that's true? Where Danielle did good, in my opinion, because I've been watching a ton of interviews on her. she's kind of basically said that even when I talk with Teresa, I let her know I want to make friends with everybody and make my own decisions. Like, I like that she took, I guess you would say, a loyalty to Teresa, kind of bringing her in the circle, so to speak, but also being like in many interviews, she said this, I let Teresa know that I want to establish the friendships. Like, I want to see, if this will work, if that'll work. And Teresa said it was kind of okay. So that feels good in terms of where Danielle could go. Because right now in my head, I'm like, ooh, Danielle, we like you as a newbie, but you're on the wrong side of history.
I know.
Like, Jennifer was the one you clicked with the most? Poor Danielle. I'm so sorry, sweetie. No.
But you know what? There is something to be said of the fact that Jennifer has less of a personality than Danielle, because Danielle can really take that main character energy and main character vibes that just Jennifer doesn't have. So she's holding that, which is why that friendship can be balanced, because Jennifer is a loud mouth, but she's not main character energy. Danielle is very much giving main character energy.
I was watching, as I said, tons of interviews, and I think it was it New York? Gosh, what's the network? I don't know. Sarah Gore is the host there. Anyways, it was an interview, and Jen and Danielle were together. All the gals are doing press with their different. I think Melissa's with Margaret and Dolores, but it was like the interviewer would kind of go to Danielle and ask her questions, and Jen would intercept and be like explaining how things go. I was like, Jen, you were trying so hard not to be upstaged, but when somebody has a natural curiosity and they want to know, oh, Danielle, how was it to be with this group of girls, to be the new one, this, and this? Have you done reality TV? And Jen like, oh, yeah, we think she really fit in. Like, nobody asked you, Jen. Nobody is deeming you like somebody who's doing it well. Jen Aiden is hanging on by a thread, and we all know it. Yeah. And so it was so funny that while they're probably sweethearts and friends right now, Danielle and Jen, I just feel like, Danielle, you might want to be smart, because no one really, really, really wants to be a Jen Aiden stan or a Jen Aiden fan, or even poor Bill's probably he's probably fed up himself.
Look, but Bill and Jennifer are two in the same, because when they both get drunk, they get blacked out drunk, and so they're very much like Alexia and her husband Todd, because from the Real Housewives of Miami, because Alexia and Todd are both on the defense and very much ready to attack. And I feel like all these couples that we're kind of seeing them really complement each other, whether in the good or the bad. So I think Jennifer Aiden and Dr. Aiden, Bill, are very much, when they get drunk, they just go all the way. Like they're still in college, or like they're joining a frat party or something crazy. Like we seen Bill get carried upside down on the stairs one of the last times they went to the Jersey Shore. And we've seen Jennifer wasted many times next to a pool or at a party or at an event. And it's just like, come on, get some water, a Pedialyte in your system.
Got to get the Pedialyte. I'm interested in that defensiveness, because while I could not like a character, they're not my favorite. I don't say I don't like them, but they're not my favorite. I do have a part of me. It's so funny. And we have parts of us all over the place. Like, some of me is so dismissive in terms of like, I don't care your opinion. Why are you talking? I'm very I'm secure. I know my faults even. Yeah. I know where I need to grow as a person. So I'm not really like asking for verification or validation. So sometimes I can let the most asinine comment just roll off my shoulders. But then the other things that are kind of simple, and it's maybe something I got to work on, I get to that like Alexia and Todd space. Like, I'm all of a sudden like, Ronnie, why am I so tight about this? Like I don't need to prove it to nobody. I don't need to convey this message. It's just really weird. And that's why I want to say it while we judge. And, I hope that people enjoy the way we judge these shows. You see a lot of yourself, good and bad, in the shows, because it's something that I've had to often reflect and say, why could I be so chill about a comment from somebody and not even care? Almost like laugh them out of the room, in my mind. And then another comment could come through and I feel the need to like annihilate them, So there's a part of me that could be understanding of that need that Jen might have, that need that Teresa might have to convey to the world some message, I'm great. you should know that. And it's like, this is why I love like a Melissa or like a Larsa or like a Kenya, because the characters I enjoy are the ones that I more aspire to be, the real confident women on the show. If you notice, I always like that same type of character. So
let me tell you, being the pettiest person that I know, every time somebody comes for me, I must come for them, because let me tell you, I am not going to bed with your negative energy on my heart or in my system. I need to give that energy back to you. So if you want to be ugly, I got to be ugly to you. If you want to say something rude, I got to say something rude to you, because you know what? That's what you are as a person, and that's what you get from me, because that's what you were trying to give to me, but I don't want it. So you get that back, and you take that with you and be on your merry way.
Oh, okay. So you shut it all the way down.
Absolutely.
Like you shut it down where it's like the you can't even go to the next day. Like this will be resolved today, which is kind of a good thing. I remember we had a friend who a lot of my other friends would be like, oh, why is this person always like saying something and always, we got to nip this in the bud, or we got to get to the bottom of this. And I remember saying, well, I like this person. I don't think this person's bad at all. Yeah. Now, if this person is very like, we got to get to the business, we got to figure out what's the problem, and they're always kind of like saying something, I actually think that's better than the opposite, where everyone's very like, it's no issue, and then it's festering inside. And I remember learning, I won't say this person's name, but I learned a lot from this person, a dear friend, because that person always made me feel like, all the times I think, if there is something that's bothering me, oh, I don't want to go to the person, I don't want to cause a scene. Cause a scene, because if it is in you and it's just better to kind of what you were saying there, Russell, a second ago, like nip it in the bud now. It's kind of better to really communicate those things. And this is one of the reasons I feel like Teresa struggles, is she's the opposite of that. She's very like, oh, it's fine, or I don't want to take sides. Like, you're a human. You have to take, like, humanly, you're it's not a choice, Teresa.
Yeah.
You humanly choose a side. You humanly get jealous of Louis with if another woman shows him attention. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I say humans are jealous people. This is, all these things are normal. This is part of our neurology or whatnot, And so I always feel like I grew up so much of my life being the Teresa side. Keep it quiet. Well, not that she's a quiet lady, but like act like it's chill, and then it festers up, and then I get really mad. I kind of like where I'm at now, where I'm like, if there's something wrong, we got to talk about it. Let's talk about it, and let's get it. Let's move on in a really good way. Yeah.
Look, again.
Why are we making it about ourselves?
Look, again, because we are Jersey. We are Jersey. This is why we're doing this. It's
I'm
because we're Jersey.
Casting myself on a show.
Look, baby, come with it, because you're gonna get it all the way back.
Yeah.
Okay, I just gotta let you know what it is.
And also, here's the other thing.
One time, I was getting on the train going to San Diego, because there's a cute little surf liner that goes down the coast of California. I was getting on the train, put my bag up, minding my business. I was like in the middle of texting everyone that I was meeting up with, letting them know like my points. Some lady turned to me, and like, mind you, I packed very light because I had just gotten my COVID booster, and so I packed very light because I already knew my shoulder was gonna hurt and whatever. So I went to go put up my bag, and so the lady behind me was like, "Can you put up my bag?" And I was like, I can help you put up your bag. And I went to go pick it up, and then I realized how heavy it was, and I was like, I'm not gonna pick up your bag, honestly. I just got my COVID booster. I can't lift that. And she called me a pathetic excuse as a man.
Oh,
now
well,
I noticed her husband was behind her. I said, well, if that makes me a pathetic excuse as a man, your husband must be the bottom of the barrel, because obviously he didn't offer to help you, nor does he want to lift it either. So you might want to deal with that before you go ahead and cast your stones at me, because it looks like you got a whole bigger problem to deal with. So there's that on that. And I walked away, and she was so livid. She sat on the train. I think she got off like 4 stops before me to San Diego. She got off. She was so mad. She would not finish. She would not break eye contact with me. But with me, I was like, I said my piece. I'm done. I was watching my little show. So I was very much Teresa versus everyone in that moment. But again, going back to Danielle, I really like that she's like a no bullshitter, and she's going to call it as it is. And, what was refreshing this episode is that Dolores actually didn't have to host something
Yeah.
Danielle actually did, and she hosted the mozzarella party, which is right there. And I think it was such a just a refreshing moment. It was cute. It was fun. You know, there's Margaret with her cute cast on. But if you notice in the photo, there's a distance between Teresa and Melissa because they were already feuding at this moment. They had just gotten back from hosting an event in LA together that they were contractually obligated to do. And there was kind of an awkward interaction, which Melissa talked about on the episode. And I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on just going back into arguing again with Joe and Melissa, being that Teresa's parents are now, you know, they've moved on into the afterlife, and you know they've had to bury not one but two parents. So what are your thoughts now on them arguing, being close to their 50s? One of them is 50, but the other one being close to 50, and that they don't have that parental figures to bring them back together.
Well, I think that's the unfortunate, relatable experience with so many of our own families. You know, I won't mention too many things, but like I've seen things within families where, you know, while the matriarch is here, everyone will connect. But you know, the moment that is not around, it's going to change. Just, you know, because people are really only there and will make sacrifices and compromises for the sake of when the parents are here. And so the parents aren't here, so it's really each of the people, their responsibility to take that on. You know, is it so bad? Have I been wrong, done wrong by this person so many times? You know, that's the really complicated thing. It's like everyone's like, oh, you have to have loyalty to, you know, your family. And it's like, but there's some people that are toxic to you, you know. So I'm not really getting into Teresa or Joe or whose fault it is. And obviously everyone knows I'm such a Melissa Gorga stan. And what I'll say in that space is that, to me, I feel like, how many times has Melissa tried to kind of like not, you know, put fuel on the fire? You know, she continues to try to like not make it a thing. It's almost like it's that hard experience. I don't know if you've done this with anybody in a family setting. And I say family setting because, again, you kind of have to connect. You don't want to lose the family, the bloodline or whatnot. You don't want to do that. And so in some ways, I always say friends are better to you than family. That's not a blanket sentence. I don't mean that 1,000%. But I'm saying you really do abuse sometimes the people you love and care about in terms of family, because you feel like they're always going to be there. And I just feel like how many times have we seen Melissa kind of try to not really, you know, walk on eggshells. Maybe Joe's a little louder, not breathe and, you know, kind of keep Teresa happy, and it's still never making her happy. So and again, I wanted to do this recap where we acknowledged and honored the fact that there are so many tree huggers. I am not one of them. I don't think Russell is one of them. So I wanted to make sure
I'm not a tree hugger. Not that I was, but I just want to make that clear. I'm not a tree hugger. Okay. Back to you.
I knew you weren't, because you're too cool to be one. I was like, oh no, he's Gorga Hive all day. I just
Look,
know, you
baby.
know. Yeah.
Remember what Joseph looked like in that last photo shoot? Come on now. I gotta be a Stan Joseph. Come on.
But the whole thing is just complicated. And speaking of photos and stuff, I thought it was really good on a, you know, these are called reality shows, but at one stage they were called docu series or whatever.
Docu series. What a throwback.
I'm glad that we're getting all of these talking points where Teresa's saying, you know, this and how I feel, and, you know, and Joe saying, you know, we lived here and we were all each other had. And I really like that they're taking a little bit of time to show what the family's losing. You know what I mean? Those photos were very valuable to me. I like that we took a little time with it. You know, I think that when Teresa was on Watch What Happens Live, she stated, oh, I was upset with what I saw on the show with how Melissa and Joe were kind of talking about me. But, you know, with Teresa, it's always just somebody giving her a problem. She doesn't have any accountability to the part that she plays in anything, you know?
You know what I dislike the most about the arguing between Teresa, Joe, and Melissa is that Melissa tries to remove herself from the situation. to the point of, this is your brother, that is your sister, you two figure it out. I don't want to be involved. And unfortunately, Teresa continues to drag Melissa through it, stating that the reason that her and Joe are not getting along is because of Melissa. Well, I don't think Teresa would get along with anybody that was married to Joe if Melissa and Joe were to ever get a divorce. Because Teresa is just that person that's going to be the thorn in the side continuously, because unless she's running the show and things are going the way that she wants it to, she's not going to be happy.
Yeah, and Melissa, oh, she's so perfect.
Shout out to Melissa.
Well, it's hard because you want, like, Teresa keeps walking around for years now in terms of how long she's been with this Louis. Aren't you happy that I'm happy? Like, she kind of forces everybody to like
acknowledge it, want to be with it. Like, she wants them to want it as bad as she wants it.
or you can't even have a critical thought against it. Yeah. Like, we talked earlier about defensiveness, but I said, I admitted parts where I feel defensive about things, but like, she's taking it as like, and I think she's even taking harder with Melissa and Joe, because there's somewhere in there where she's stating, without stating it, I had to deal with, I didn't like Melissa and Joe to get, I didn't like my brother with Melissa all these years. I had to deal with that. So why, now that I'm happy, you can't be happy for me? It's like she's convinced herself of that. And I just think there's so much more to it.
I was going to say Marissa. Why was I going to say Marissa?
Who's Marissa?
Look, Marissa, wherever you're at, you just need to stay in your place, okay? Because I am ready for you. Like I said,
she's the problem.
Marissa is the problem. But Teresa is such a liar for the fact that Teresa is a liar when it comes to Melissa, because she used to say that she liked Melissa. She used to play with her butt or whatever, and she would squeeze it, and they would smack each other's butts because, like, they were very Kardashian-esque is the way that they explained their relationship prior to all these problems happening. Now, there's these issues, and all of a sudden, Teresa's like, well, I've never really agreed with my brother marrying her. Well, that's not your job to agree with who is marrying who. Like, it's not your relationship. But
how early on did she mention that? That she...
when? About what?
How early on did she mention that she's not happy that her brother married Melissa? Has this always been?
No, this was like 2 seasons. Well, this was initially when Melissa came on with Joe to the Real Housewives, but when Melissa already established her place on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, they spoke about how good their relationship used to be, and they used to go out together, and they would go to the Jersey Shore together, and they would enjoy each other's time. So for Teresa to say that she never agreed with Melissa and Joe being married, I find to be very outlandish, because that is not, and I'll find the clips and I will bring them in next episode. That is not what she stated before. Yeah. Teresa's very wishy-washy. She's only going to admit to something if it works in her favor. So if her and Melissa are good, oh my gosh, we used to have such a good time. I'm so glad we're not fighting anymore. Love, 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 love. Mwah, 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 like she does on Watch What Happens Live. Yeah. And then when they're feuding, it's, well, Melissa's always been like this. She's never respected me. She's never liked me. Get out of here. Take a walk. Look, they held you down when you were in prison. They held you down when you were going through your issues with Joe. They held you down when you were single. And they still tried to hold you down when you married Louis. But unfortunately, you keep creating enemies. So eventually, when someone gets backed into a corner, they can't help but to defend themselves. And that's exactly where Teresa and Joe, where Joe and Melissa are at right now.
Agreed, because I don't think that Joe, out of all the people, I think Joe and Melissa... People could, kindly say in the comments a different side of this, but I really do think they were just trying to be cordial, even though in the pit of their stomach, like they probably were like, Louis, is this the right fit? But they kind of did exactly what Teresa requires and what she demands, which is you got to just loyalty to the family to a fault. And so I just feel like there's a part of credit that Teresa is not giving the grace to them. Like, she should scratch her head, Teresa. She should scratch her head and say, scratch, 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 and ponder. And
say,
she should
say scratch, scratch, scratch. Got it.
Teresa should scratch her head, scratch, 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 and ponder, like, they kind of really were showing up for me, and they may not have been down with Louis. See, Teresa doesn't have a lot of like when she navigates things in her mind, it's really an all or nothing, because we see her saying, I don't want to get into it, and then the next moment she's screaming. I mean, she wasn't screaming in this episode, but I'm saying she's done that a lot. She's done the passing off of things like, oh, it's not a big deal, we're still talking about that, this is no big deal, and then like it festers and she gets really mad. So I just wish she had more of a skill set with how to communicate, even within her interpersonal communication, where she could just understand that they might not have been down with this guy, but what does family do? Family shows up for family.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's being seen, and here's another thing, this is subtopic, I know we got to move along quickly today, but everybody making it like Gia is the greatest kid ever. I just have not understood that. I mean, I guess it's like when the bar is low, it's just like, it's like, but I don't understand. Like, when last season they're like, oh, Gia gathered her uncle. I'm like, what in the no respect having ass is that? Like, is that what we're really doing? Like, if I'm an uncle, do I want my niece or nephew talking like that to me? Now, I understand the whole concept of like defending yourself, but like the uncle, you can talk to your uncle that way? Because I'm gonna tell you, I can't talk to my uncles that way. And I know that was from last season.
I couldn't talk to any of my elders that way until I got to a certain age. And even at that, like, I still walk around on glass.
Yeah.
Because again, my mom is so strong and tough that if we ever spoke out of place to either one of her siblings, she would check us right there. If not verbally, she just might backhand us, Not condoning abuse, but like, you just don't disrespect your elders and you don't overstep your boundaries. This is something between, Teresa and Joe. It's not something between Teresa, Joe, Gia, Melania. Like, stop involving your kids. This is why you're in the predicament that you're in. You involve too many people in this relationship. Every relationship is your hand in mine. It creates a circle, right? Once you extend that circle, that's when things start going haywire because you're adding other people to the group. Boom, there it is. You and I. Right. Ronnie, boom, this is you and I. As soon as we add someone else into, if you and I were to have a disagreement, if we add someone else into it, it's going to be a bigger problem than what it is, because you and I are both going to seek the outside source to find out what their perspective is, and their perspective may not be right.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in this situation with Teresa and Joe, is Teresa seeks out validation from Gia, who is still learning about life herself because she's in her early 20s, who hasn't made the major mistakes that we've all made and that we're still continuing to make and learn from. And a 50-year-old woman is asking a 21-year-old child who's right and who's wrong. You're only seeing the one side of the perspective. That's why you're getting validation from your daughter, because she's only seen your side of the picture for so many years. So of course she's going to agree with you. And of course she's going to have anger towards her uncle and towards every other girl that you don't like, because she's been in your corner by default for so many years.
Also, I mean, I guess she doesn't have a chance. They don't really get to decide how this is going to work on camera, but, and I also know that Joe and Melissa's kids are younger, but you don't really see the Joe and Melissa side, like, bringing in their kids. I mean, again, they're younger, but you see such an encouragement of Teresa's side to be like, yeah, they're bad, or not even if Teresa encouraging them, but if they get snappy, she doesn't say like, oh, okay, listen, okay, that's still your uncle. Like, I want you, and you work it out with them. I have my problems with my brother, but like, that's still your aunt and uncle. Teresa really don't do that. She's kind of like, yeah, girl. Like
let's just do this for a second. Let's just look. This is episode 2. We've only had 2 episodes. Let's just look just from these 2 episodes. How many people Teresa has feuded with? Boom, Teresa versus Margaret. Boom, Teresa and Jennifer versus Margaret. Boom, Teresa versus Joe and Melissa. Boom, Teresa versus Melissa. Like, how many people do you have to go up against in your cast for you not to realize that you're in the wrong? Because let me tell you, as the audience is progressing with the show, they're starting to see the lies, the deceit, the dysfunction, and the cover-up that happens with Teresa. And
Yeah.
that's why people are calling BS on what's going on with Teresa, because we are seeing it unfold. Editing only has so much to do with it. And going back to season 2, when Danielle Staub used to blame editing for the way that she was portrayed, Caroline Manzo and Teresa Giudice would say, no, that is 100% of who you are. So there you go. Look who's calling the kiddo Danielle Staub. None other than Danielle Staub's twin right now. Okay.
The way he comes for Danielle Staub when we're talking about the sky being blue.
Look who's calling the kiddo. Look who's calling the kiddo Brandy Glanville. Okay.
Oh, geez. Here's a couple good points from Courtney Stewart, who's watching us live. This is why I like it, because again, I feel how I feel for sure, but because I'm so far of enjoying anything that really Teresa gives on the show, much less her kids, I sometimes maybe won't see the full picture. And again, we're just recollecting from last year. So what Courtney said was, okay, well, I was going to read the next one, but we could do this first.
Here, we can read the next one.
This was the one I was going to go off first. She said Gia was also defending her dad, and you can't fault her for that. So, and that definitely could be stated in the conversation too. Mm-hmm. Either way, I just didn't love it. You know what I mean? I didn't love it. If Joe was causing the problem, if Gia was defending, I didn't like any of it. I just didn't like any of it. So
Marsha says facts.
Oh, we must have said something correct. All right.
Look, about my pettiness. That's what she's talking about. Facts. Stay petty. Stay petty. Stay toxic. That's been all. See y'all later. Just
so the other comment you did put up, we might as well read it because we put it from Courtney. Okay. And also a big shout out to Courtney along with Jesse and Daryl. They have Next Mood Swing. Please follow that YouTube channel. So go to youtube.com/Next Mood Swing. They're up Thursday nights. The show has got variety. Yes. I mean, they talk about topics in detail, and the three of them are very, very talented. What Courtney wrote here was Gia is a star. Okay, so you could see the side of her that's a star. I love that. But you can't fault her for how she's talking, because they're all disrespectful as hell. And she, as being an adult, she's behaving just like them. Another great point. I mean, she's acting along the lines of what she knows. You know, it is a family or families that, you know, it's not necessarily about looking in the mirror and being accountable. It's how am I going to defend myself and tell you what's wrong with
But again, this goes back to Teresa not being able to correct her daughter. At the end of the day, you are the parent. That is your child. You are not their friend. You are their guider. You are their confidant. You are their disciplinary individual. You are structuring your children. So when your child steps out of line, and when your child is being disrespectful or talking about other women in your friend group or talking about your brother and getting involved in things that she shouldn't be, it is important for you as the parent to turn and say, this is none of your business. I will handle this. You don't get involved. This has nothing to do with you.
And Gia's not that bad in general. I just am more so shocked when I see online or an episode of Watch What Happens Live, or Gia's a bartender and there's like this big fascination with like, oh, she lives, give her a spinoff. I'm like, Gia's not that interesting. But Courtney said she was a star, so maybe there are people that really see her as really amazing. I know she's doing some good work now. She's kind of transitioned into trying to do something that will be beneficial for her father in terms of law. So there's goodness for sure. I don't have that in me. I don't have that like, yeah, she's amazing, great for television. I just don't see that. I don't see the star quality, you know.
I don't see the star quality yet. I think she's a gorgeous woman, and I could definitely see her going into modeling, just like we saw Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid do after
Yolanda.
After Yolanda was on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She really did kind of like that, really gave them their push that they needed, because Yolanda was able to revisit those contacts that she had in the modeling world. And so with Teresa and Gia, I would just hate for Gia to tarnish her name at such a young age when she could monetize and maximize her career, because she's in a good place to do that. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. And I don't entirely think Gia is a star. The real star is Melania. Okay. Oh. You give that girl a camera and she will work it until the end of the day. Now, do I think she should be a rapper? Probably not. I heard the song. It's cute. It's cute.
Yeah, it is nice, as you said, referencing
It's cute.
the older first seasons, the earlier seasons. It is nice to see Melissa really, Melissa. Who am I always thinking about? It is really nice to see Teresa in their earlier seasons, really being there for her children, showing up. And to some degree, she's doing the exact same thing. It's just their lives are so different now. We're not seeing the exact same lifestyle, but it's all the same vein. So I'm sure it's fine.
Courtney Stewart said, not a rapper. Look. And like I said, it was cute. It was cute. You're finding your place in the music industry if that's what you want to do. But I don't think rapping is the game, girl. Go ahead. Yeah. Just give it a minute. You'll find it. I think commercials is your thing. Okay. and at that, good for you. Like, I think Melania is 18 now. If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
So again, they're at a great platform, they're at a great place. But I mean, going back to where the arguments kind of took place this episode, the mozzarella party, like, I just think it's such a shame because all these women really were dressed gorgeous for a nice event. And this was the first event that Danielle was hosting. She was really excited. She even hired 2 chefs to show them all how to make mozzarella. And unfortunately, it just unfolded. And, Jennifer and Margaret started arguing, and Jennifer and Dolores started arguing again. And
moral of the story,
it's tiring.
Jennifer Aiden, the lackluster housewife, causing problems again. It was a fun moment too, even going off the concept of like seeing. I'm now just going to the event itself, seeing how excited Danielle was. I said last episode, she's great. Sometimes the confessionals, people really want to win in those green screen opportunities. Yeah. And you say sometimes people say things that aren't really that funny, but they play really well. I think Danielle does feel like somebody you want to hang out with. And I said this last week, she's very explanatory. Like, I love the way she explains. It's with so much joy. It's like, oh, and this is how we do it. And this is so fun. And like, I got to tell you, the last time we did it, it was, and I just really, you want to be in there. Life is short. You could live quietly. You could live under the radar. And there's nothing wrong with that, being humble or whatever. But I like the Danielle style. Like, let's go big or go home,
Ooh, I almost thought you said Danielle style. I was about to just blow my top off.
Like, no, the Danielle Cabral style. I guess it would sound like that. No. We're going to do a special episode in about 3 episodes here where we figure out why you don't like Danielle style that much, but not right now. Back to Cabral.
It'll be the counseling session of Russell Ray. The interfriendship, and all my friends from near and far will come to counsel me and get me right. Because you know what? I ain't right. Sometimes I'm messed up in the head, but that's
There's something going on. There's something he sees red when but Danielle Cabral, I like, you've seen a moment of like, even just, it's a bit, not intimidating, but there's different lifestyles, some of these women have gigantic mansions, and Danielle's living a little bit differently, still wonderful and fabulous and all that stuff. But I think she's wearing her fabulousness. She's giving her fabulousness. Whereas like a Jennifer Aiden's like, look at my beautiful home. Aren't I great? look at my Birkin. Like, aren't I amazing? It's like,
look at all of the work that my husband has done on me.
Yeah. And I've kind of mentioned that before when we talk about money. Like, if you have money, great. I got no problem with people who have money. I'm a 100%. I go hard in the paint for Larsa Pippen. She got the good money, but I also think she's fly. But you relying on you have money somehow means I got to think you're interesting. Yeah. It don't fly. So I'm not saying Cabral does not have money. Danielle does, but like her house was significantly different, and it just was fun to me. I don't know. Didn't you feel that a little bit?
I did. I really thought it's so funny because she was like, I hope nobody calls my house cute, because she thought, Jennifer's house was such a monster, like such a beast, and it was gorgeous, and it was this mansion. And she's like, I swear, someone better not come in and tell me my house is cute. And the first thing that Dolores said was watching, like, oh, this is cute. Like, and again, like, it's no shade. I would love to live in Danielle's house. Love to live in Danielle's house. Mm-hmm. I would love to have Danielle's husband.
We did mention a lot of that last episode. Yeah, I watched it back. I was like, "Yo, we were thirsty.
We were so thirsty. We were. Let's talk about a gallon of water today. I just can't do
it. Danielle, last week we were parched because of Nate. Yeah,
let's take a beat and let's just get a little sip of water.
Danielle, Don't you be bringing that Nate onto the show too much like that. You tell him to go stay home, do a couple scenes with the guys, but I want to see him every week. I want to see him every week. Don't you play with me like that. Don't you play with me, Danielle.
Oh my gosh. Look, you never know what you're going to get. When
Get
you're
it back
live,
together.
You just never know what you're going to get here with Ronnie and myself. Marsha said, okay, look. I know that's right, Marsha. Marsha knows a fine one when she sees one.
We all see what we see.
And Courtney says, yes, Nate, yum.
Gobble, gobble. Come on, Courtney. Gobble, gobble.
Because he's good. Okay. Look. Okay, on to the next banner.
I forgot what we're talking about.
We're gonna move over to Joe and Melissa towards the end of the episode. They're talking family. And Melissa's really trying to support her husband in his relationship that he has with Teresa, his sister. And I took the liberty of pulling up some photos that were online, and it made me sad because if you look back, like, they were such close siblings. Like, this is just uncalled for them to be feuding the way that they are. This is, again, on the beach. I mean, look at Joe's body, though. Like, just this man has always known what he's doing. And then, moving forward, you have them again. Young brother and sister. They look very cute. I don't think Joe smiles very much, but, very happy, just like in this photo, very happy. And then you have both the couples with Louis. And this was a very cordial, very well done photo. And they looked genuine. So I don't understand why this keeps going south.
Even though I don't like Louis that much, that last picture, that's what I want to see. I want that to work. Like, and I don't know who's involved in it, or, there's outside forces that are maybe in each of their ears, make a great television show. Maybe this is just natural. Whatever the factor is, we need to change. We got to nip this in the bud, because I mean, when I see that photo, I want all of the parties involved to be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at one point, doing this show, making this great money, living in your beautiful mansions, is it worth it compared to, like, knowing what your parents, how they would be so hurt by this? It's just really not fun to see. And as I said earlier, why I maybe wasn't into this season, I was like, I don't want to see it again. I do not want to see a rewarded Teresa versus Melissa storyline, even though I do believe Melissa really gathered her quite well. Very poised, right. Very compassionate, at the end of the pool party there, calling her on the lie. It's not fun anymore, or it wasn't even fun for a long period of time. So I hope they work it out. I'm sincerely saying that. I'm Team Melissa all day, every day. But I could be Team Teresa for them to let it be us against the world kind of a thing. The two couples, like, something has got to change.
And that's what's hard for me to watch unfold, is that Joe is really the type of person who would really go to bat for his sister. Joe would really go up against the world to make anything happen for her. And I think Teresa fails to see that. And all he wants is for his wife and his sister to get along. But unfortunately, Teresa cannot stop dragging Melissa's name through the mud for whatever reason. It doesn't get her anywhere. It never does. Again, Teresa has tried to convince people not to like Melissa in past seasons, and they end up liking Melissa because Melissa is a likable person. So stop being Eeyore and stop walking around with a gray cloud above your head, because no one wants to be around you after that. Right?
That, or go into therapy where it's the families together and express all of your things. Because we talked earlier about, like, should Teresa go to therapy, or she's wondering, should she, my family, we don't do this, she had said. Okay, whatever, all that. If you don't want to go just one-on-one therapy, Teresa, it's your life, do what you want. But definitely take a moment where Joe and Melissa could show up, you could show up, you could talk with just Joe, where the words could be articulated, a therapist could guide the conversation and make sure no one cuts anyone off and says, no, but listen to the words. Here's where the hurt was. We have to get through that first and, like, peel that back layer by layer. I don't know. I feel a lot of hope for them, because we've all been through this. I don't know a person who has not had a tough thing within family. We've all had it. We've had to make the bigger decisions. Like, am I cutting this person off till the end, or am I going to get my ego, even though I didn't have an ego? Am I going to check it? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. It is definitely a lot.
It is, and feuding with family can be fun because it helps you grow, and then you can look back at it and laugh.
You
Because I've
said
had my
fun.
own feuds with my sibling. Look, I told you we're dysfunctional.
You said fun.
There's something not right about us. But you know what? We are thick as thieves. And if my sisters or my brother was to call me, and if something is going down, I'm going to be there like that.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I don't see that happening for Teresa and Joe anytime soon. I see them actually isolating and just doing their own family trees after this. And really, Joe going his way and then pursuing his life and his family, becoming a grandfather, becoming a great grandfather, and having nothing to do with his sister. And I see Teresa doing the same because that's just what their relationship is showing right now, which is sad because I think it's a great thing to have cousins. It's an even better thing to be able to have a good time with your cousins. I see Shane and his cousins always planning trips, going places together, and it's very refreshing to see that. And I would love for Teresa's kids and Joe's kids to do that without their parents involved and to really not care about what their parents are doing and just enjoy themselves as kids and just having a good time.
I think both parents, both sides, even though they have their stuff, they are very, in my mind, they're welcoming of the kids staying close. I don't know if the kids are close right now, but
I think the kids are close.
Really, dang, that sucks.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Unfortunately.
Can as we exit here, I want to ask you, and even like comments could weigh in both live and on the replay here. What is everyone's thoughts on Jennifer really spiraling out and picking fights with everybody? Is there a theory behind it? I had kind of thought personally that, like I said, she always got to be a newbie for so many years. Her and Jackie. Jackie was the sophisticated one. Ooh, I didn't like Danielle. Not liking Jackie. We'll revisit that next week. Danielle, I didn't like that. Because I love Jackie. I love Jackie. She didn't dismiss you. She didn't grovel to you either. Like that. We've got to check our disrespect. Like many people walk right by you. They don't know you. They don't owe it to you. But where was I at? Oh, what is it about Jen? I had felt like for so many years it was just they were the two newbies, so she got to act out a line, and it just was like, oh, that's just Jen. Well, now there are younger, and I'm not age shaming anyone because I'm always advocating for older, but there's younger, more interesting personalities there, and I feel like Jen is like, oh gosh, I have got to do something to fit in, and let me tell you. The way Dolores would have gathered her would have changed her life. So I'm glad, Jen, you got to stop talking, Jen Aiden. You got to stop talking.
I've said it before and I will say it again. I am Team Dolores. I do love Joe and Melissa. I'm Team Joe and Melissa, but I am Team Dolores because Dolores used to be a probation officer and she ain't putting up with no BS and she's going to put everybody in their corner and she will handle them as need be, which I highly appreciate. But I mean, with that being said, because again, just the drama is explosive. What are our predictions for episode 3?
Just because we got to wrap here, I'm only going to go off the one quick thing is, I could love Danielle as the newbie and be like, oh my gosh, she's so great. By the way, I liked the other one, Rachel, a lot more too this episode. So all the newbies. Jen eating the food while there's big old fights going on was also lovely. I liked that too. Jen, what's her name? Jen F. We'll call her. No, Jen. That's Rachel. Rachel is.
Oh, Rachel Fuda. You're thinking about Jen, the official friend of this season.
Margaret's friend who just is going to eat food and she's going to like wipe her sweaty pits and legs and everything. Yeah, it was good. So my prediction is I want to get to. Hopefully not a reason where I say, Danielle, come on, like let Jackie just be Jackie. But that's going to be the most intriguing thing to me because, I do like Jackie. I know people say she's too subdued for the show. Shut up. She's not. She's wonderful. She shared a lot last year. She's got a book coming out and she's gorgeous and she came from money. Not that I'm saying money means anything, but I'm saying she's confident within herself. She's good within herself. We're not going to say Jackie, it was not a good housewife. I demand you take that back. But so I want to see where Danielle comes at her. She made the joke or, oh, she's late. Who cares? Like, Danielle, that's it. That's my prediction, Russ.
I think Jennifer Aiden is going to start to phase out. Dolores is going to start to take over. Teresa and Melissa's relationship feud is going to take a front seat, but then it's going to take a back seat, and then it'll re-blow up again at the end in the season finale when it comes to Teresa's wedding. So I think that will be a very explosive moment. But I think it's going to take a backseat coming in these next few episodes because there's too much to focus on with the new girls, including Danielle and Jen and Rachel. And I think we're going to get to know more about them, which I think maybe we should work on doing. We can do one that just focuses on each one and their past and just things about them. And we can do like a special segment, special reel edition of Real Housewives of New Jersey. We'll do a special edition for you all. We'll put it together and make it work.
We'll have to invite the fabulous Courtney Stewart to join us, maybe, you know.
Yes, and the Bravo Bottoms. We'll have to contact them. We'll have everybody come in as guest hosts. And then, you know, who knows? We'll see. We'll go from there. But I do think that Dolores is really going to take front and center this season. Even though it's Teresa's wedding season, I think Dolores is really going to stay in the front because she is the main character this season from what editing has been showing.
You know what this is your year of? Russell's an Aquarius. Russell's in his I'm giving main character energy. Like, that's all you talk about.
Yes, ma'am.
You're just defining, like, this cast member's main energy, and you're like, I'm main energy here. Like,
main character.
Main character. Yes. It's like, I know that it's like important to you right now. So that's how you're defining a lot of things. But yes, no, I mean, we should all be the main character in our own stories for sure. Yeah.
Well, y'all, thank you for joining us so much for episode 2 of season 13 of the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I'm going to be gone this week and I'll be taking a bye week, and we'll come back with episodes 3 and 4 in 2 weeks because I'm heading to Sydney. Ronnie's going to keep it held down. I'll keep you updated from where I'm at. You can follow me at Russell Raymond on Instagram. And Ronnie, you can find Ronnie on Instagram at randomly RJ Pod, or on his Instagram at randomly RJ. And please go head over to his YouTube and don't forget to subscribe to Randomly Ronnie Jr. podcast and for at Russell X Raymond podcast here on YouTube. Until then, it's been great to have you, Ronnie. I will see you in 2 weeks when I'm back. And head over and watch Real Housewives of Miami tomorrow with Ronnie Jr.
That's right. Live it up out there. All right. It was fun. Jersey. Bye, everybody.